Welcome to Everything Under the Moon.
With Mel and Stell. All right, guys. So we finally got what we wanted.
Oh, fuck yeah.
I know, right? We've been waiting for this for a long time.
Disclosure.
Disclosures.
Sorry, did I spoil it? I was too excited. Disclosure. We got it, kind of. Not really.
So I know all of the internet and indeed all of the world has been abuzz with the Office of the Director of National Intelligence report released titled Preliminary Assessment, Unidentified Aerial Phenomena. And this was on the 25th of June. And so basically, in layman's terms, the DOD has declassified information that they have about UFOs.
Yeah, and I don't know when they hinted to this, in March, I think, because that's when the study was finished running for 2021. So I know, especially on Reddit, alien subreddit's crazy. But
that seems to be about right, yeah.
Yeah, they were excited about it regardless. So what we're going to do tonight, we are going to completely read, well, maybe not verbatim, but we are going to read the entire 9-page report, preliminary assessment, for all of you out there and kind of sum it up so that it's in layman's terms and talk about what this really means in terms of, UAPs and UFOs and what the government is doing, because this is really only the beginning, of this task force. I don't know if that's what it is, but that's what I'm going to call it.
Please call it a task force. All I've ever wanted is a task force.
Leslie, no. Hell yeah.
It's the best.
I would call it that. I mean, they're basically, we'll get into it, but basically what they're doing is just setting up a program so that it can be reported, so that UAPs can be reported and not be blown off anymore. But we're
Absolutely. And this is definitely a case of we are creating the kind of content that we wish was out there. I wish that, I don't really feel like sitting and reading a 9-page report necessarily, on any given day, but am I willing to dedicate the time to have somebody to read it to me and talk about it? Certainly.
I'll admit, we started reading this. We were gonna read it before and then just talk about it. But about on the second page, we just started ranting so much and having great conversation that we decided to record it and just call that the episode.
Yeah.
So we're going to read, most of it is the first time we're in depth reading it. I skimmed it a little today, but so you're going to get our live reactions. I hope it's fun. All right. So before we start, I just want to talk a little bit about maybe what we know and feel about UFOs. I know you're supposed to call them UAPs now, but in my brain I'm calling everything past 2000 or pre-2000 UFOs, like Roswell.
As long as everybody knows what you mean, I don't see the harm.
True.
I feel like the person that would interrupt me when I'm trying to talk about UFOs to say, technically, it's UAPs now is what they're called. I don't know that I would want to have a conversation with that person.
True. You're always the voice of reason still.
I want to reserve judgment, but it doesn't bode well from that point, is what I'm trying to say.
Well, I've always been into UFOs and aliens, obviously. Ancient Aliens was a fun thing for my family to watch together growing up. That was how we bonded with shows. And this all started, I think, in 2017 with the Tic Tac UFO sighting. And that's the one that most people, is in their psyche now when they think UFO.
The Tic Tac UFO sighting.
You don't know what that is, or should I just describe it for all of everyone at
home?
Actually,
this time, well...
You might know what it is, but you might not.
This time I don't.
You don't actually?
I don't
Okay,
know.
wow, that's awesome. Well, I have an article here, and it's not the most detailed because it's a recap. She saw it 17 years ago.
Okay.
It was from 2004, I think, the original sighting. Let me double check.
Wait, 2004 was 17 years ago. Hold on, I gotta catch my breath for a second.
Well, yeah.
Let that sink in.
2004 was
2004 was 17 years ago.
Yep. Isn't that crazy?
Fuck me.
Well, I was 8 in 2004.
That's so funny.
So my memories of 2004 are pretty vague.
That was freshman year of high school for me.
That's so cute. I love it.
Yep.
Basically, it was 2 people, a woman and a man. I'm sorry, I don't know I'm trying to get their names off of here. David Fravor and Alex Dietrich. Alex Dietrich, the woman, I think she was one of the main people who came out, because that's who he interviewed in this article I'm reading. Anyway, basically what happened is they're flying and they see some bubbling on the ocean, like on the surface, and a white UFO comes out of the water, and it's shaped like a giant white tic tac, and it like hovers above the water, and then it, probably not getting this exactly right, we should probably look it up, but it like hovers above the water, and then it like zooms all around and like does all of these like non-ballistic motion type stuff, way outflies them, and then it's gone suddenly, and then when they get to the place that they were going, it beat them there, and it's there waiting for them, and they see it again. So, that was huge, and it broke on the New York Times in 2017, 2017 is when it came out. And
clearly this is a viral marketing strategy for Big Tic Tac.
Big Tic Tac?
Big
I cannot remember the last time I bought
It's the Big Tic Tac lobby. That's what it is.
When I learned that Tic Tacs, the nutrition info is wrong.
Absolutely.
Because they're not required to label so much sugar, and they're serving, like, it's like a loophole.
It's not fair that Tic Tacs get pointed out for that, because Pam, the cooking spray, tried to pull the exact same shit. They tried to say that it's less than a gram of fat per serving, so let's call it fat-free. And then they said, you cannot call oil fat-free. Like, we have to draw the line. And it's not fair to, Tic Tac is only one of everyone
I need
that does it.
Pam. I need it. I'm going to buy it.
Okay.
I don't need Tic Tacs. Like, I'm not going to buy them anymore, because now I'm like, oh, fuck you,
Tic
Tacs.
Wouldn't it be more important then that the Pam is not lying to you?
Yeah, I don't give a shit, though. That's not what this is
Pam's
about.
a lying
This is
whore.
about Big Tic Tac.
It's
about Big Tic Tac.
my point.
Get on point. I'm just kidding.
Big Tic Tac's a conspiracy, and Pam's a lying whore.
I love
Done.
it.
Next.
Put it in the show notes, bitch. So, yeah, they have this sighting, and it didn't have any visual, like, propelling action. Like, there was no mode of flight they could see. It was just floating, so that's kind of interesting. And that's only one of the sightings that they're studying in this thing, even though it happened in 2004, but since it came out in 2017, because this report, let me look at Acrobat, this report is only including sightings from November 2004 to March 2021. Okay, so I guess they started it, the very first case is November 2004 of this program. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's essentially the one that started it.
Well, my experience with aliens is basically, I always wonder if they're out there and if they think about me too. And I wonder if I believe in the aliens, does that mean that somewhere, someplace, an alien believes in me?
Michael Scott. There's an astronaut on a tiny planet, and he can see me, and he knows I'm sad. I'm sorry. Is my whole personality just quoting shows?
You're keeping me
I was going to
rolling.
say, I'll be the crazy one and just come out. I completely believe in aliens. I absolutely believe that our government has contact with interdimensional species and interdimensional, is that the right word? Intergalactic species.
I mean, it could be both.
Yeah, whatever. I think that they know a hell of a lot more than they're going to tell us, and then that's that. I don't think we can change that. But I do think it's fact, and I think we have a lot of evidence in witnesses like Terry Lovelace, for instance.
I don't know. I think if there's a lid on it, then the aliens must want a lid on it too.
Yeah, exactly.
Because otherwise, like, it wouldn't be up to the government, really, whether or not they reveal themselves, because they could, like, touch down and stand on a podium and talk to all of us if they wanted to.
Yeah, but they don't give a shit about us.
True.
We're just like we're like the fodder in the cannon, We're the proletariat of the society. Like, we don't mean shit.
Those are the secrets that I'm okay with them keeping away from us.
I would like to know. I know I
If the
can't
secret
do.
is that we're not important enough for aliens to talk to us, then
Is
they
that a
can keep that
secret?
secret.
I feel like that's fact because they haven't talked to us yet.
Oh no, no! An alien would totally love to talk to me, dude.
They haven't yet. So,
I mean, not that I can remember. They could be drugging me though.
very fair.
I do wonder. There's things that have happened to me in my life that I wonder. So I like to come off as like I'm a cool skeptic who doesn't believe in anything except what they can see. But it's just because I'm like tough on the outside and soft on the inside.
Good.
So it's possible that they've been systematically kidnapping me for my entire life and abducting me in a series of like partially remembered situations, or it could be bad dreams. So I
Classic.
just try to keep my mind
Could
open.
just be bad dreams, maybe. I'm definitely not being
But
abducted.
do I hope that they're real and they're out there? Like, definitely. Like, I hope that the world is even more interesting than I think it already is. I'm so down with that.
Well, do you want to get started?
Absolutely. I've got the first heading is scope and assumptions.
Yeah, I was going to sum up the first couple paragraphs here because it is a little dense. This report, it's important to know that it's made for lawmakers. It is given to, I think, probably members of Congress and Senate and other people in the National Intelligence Office. The first paragraph basically says that the preliminary report is provided by the ODNI, Director of National Intelligence, and the purpose of it is to submit an intelligent assessment of the threat posed by UAPs and the progress that the Department of Defense has made in understanding this threat. So they're taking into account only military sightings, sightings by people in the armed forces.
I want to read at least the next sentence or two of the next paragraph.
Sure, just
Where
do
it
it.
says, this report provides an overview for policymakers of the challenges associated with characterizing the potential threat posed by UAP, while also providing a means to develop relevant processes, policies, technologies, and training for the U.S. military and other U.S. government personnel if and when they encounter UAP, so as to enhance the intelligence community's ability to understand the threat.
So that's awesome. So this means that the government might be taking this seriously.
And developing contingency plans for aliens.
Yeah, that's the funny part. I was reading this and I read the other US government personnel if and when they encounter UAP. And my sister's in the army and I'm just imagining my sister fighting aliens.
And like trying to find out what the process
Yeah,
is
like
for that.
hand-to-hand
What's the
combat.
protocol? Oh,
do
no.
they teach you about different types of aliens and how to defend them? I listened to a Kryptonaut podcast. Kryptonaut's really good too. You should check them out. They did a podcast about this alien sighting in Sweden, I think, where they were like jelly blobs. And they were just like jelly creatures. And when you like tried to punch them, you would like go through the jelly. Like, do you think that the military is going to have like debriefs on like jelly aliens? Anyway.
One can only hope.
So basically the last paragraph in that section just says who it's prepared for. And that's all the armed forces, the FBI, the NRO, the NGA, a bunch of those letter groups.
Everybody that's involved with this. And then the next section is assumptions. So various forms of sensors that register UAP generally operate correctly and capture enough real data to allow initial assessments, but some UAP may be attributable to sensor anomalies.
Yeah, I think that's pretty standard, right?
So it's saying that, like, some of it might be sensor anomalies, but we have enough data to assume that there's a real thing, physical thing happening in the physical world.
Yeah. And so the next part is the kind of meat of the paper. It's the executive summary, and they kind of bring it back to that. I'm just going to read this verbatim if that's okay. The limited amount of high-quality reporting on unidentified aerial phenomenon hampers our ability to draw firm conclusions about the nature or intent of UAP. So basically, not enough reputable people, they think, are reporting these UAPs to figure out what it's about.
Or it's just saying that, also most of the evidence that we have is anecdotal. Like, I saw this, I took this picture, and there's no, instruments or measurement involved.
Yeah, or physical proof.
Exactly.
It goes on to say the Unidentified Aerial Phenomena Task Force. Yes, I was right. It's
dream
called a
job.
task force.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Oh, so bad. Why was I not recruited for this?
I know.
Super
We gotta call him. I need to join Unidentified Aerial Phenomena Task Force.
And I need to send in my resume ASAP.
I'm gonna go get us some aviators right now.
Fuck yeah. So the Unidentified Aerial Phenomenon Task Force considered a range of information on UAP described in U.S. military and intelligence community reporting. But because the reporting lacked sufficient specificity, ultimately recognized that a unique, tailored reporting process was required to provide sufficient data for the analysis of UAP. So like they said, we're trying to create a really well-tailored UAP reporting process, and that's amazing. That's huge. And then they have these 2 bullet points, and I'm going to read those, and I think they're loaded with information.
Absolutely.
As a result, this is where we started ranting really hard. As a result, the UAPTF, shout out, concentrated its review on reports that occurred between 2004 and 2021. The majority of these are a result of this new tailored process to better capture UAP events through formalized reporting. That kind of surprised me because I didn't even know they were revamping their...
Basically, UFOs, you better watch out because we are about to science the fuck out of you.
I don't think we can out-science them, honestly.
Wow.
We can try.
Not with that attitude.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We're going to the moon, Jack. All right. Okay, the next bullet point. This is so good. Most of the UAP reported probably do represent physical objects, given that a majority of UAP were registered across multiple sensors, including radar, infrared, electro-optical, weapon seekers, and visual observation. So this is saying that most of the things we see fly in a way that we don't know how it works. We have maybe I'm dramatizing, but we don't know how they're flying. Usually this non-ballistic motion, flying in like circles up and down, basically defying gravity. No propulsion systems visible.
Yeah, it's just, and I mean, they're saying most of the UAP reported probably do represent physical objects. Boom. Done. I don't know. I just think that's so spicy for a government report, like the driest of dry papers. It's so exciting to see something like that they're saying most of the UAP reported probably do represent physical objects. I'm smacking my chair because I'm so excited. You're probably gonna have to cut that
they're
out.
admitting a lot in a very casual way. I want to point out that when I read that bullet point, the first thing I thought of was when there have been sightings of UFOs. I can't say
it's
UAPs.
Fine. Just do whatever you want.
That UFOs have broken the sound barrier without a sonic boom. And I think we just figured out how to do that very recently. And that's just one example. And that's why I feel like this
and isn't
paper
isn't that what all of our research that we have done goes back to, over and over and over again? It's that at the time of these reports, there's no explanation, scientifically for what these people are describing. But then later on, science catches up in a way.
Yeah, we figure out how to do it.
Really. And then it's it's just amazing.
Then there's a nice bold paragraph after this, which is super cool too. God, I need to stop saying that. The whole thing's fucking cool.
Yeah.
In a limited number of incidents, UAP reportedly appeared to exhibit unusual flight characteristics. These observations could be a result of sensor errors, spoofing, or observer misperception and require additional rigorous analysis. Okay, I totally had it backwards. This is where they're saying all of these things are flying in the way that we don't know. I'm gonna have to cut that thing before because you were right. You totally, whatever. Anyway,
I just think it's amazing. It's just blowing my mind, and I'm just feel like I'm just saying that over and over again at various volumes, and while smacking and hitting different things within my arm's reach because I'm so excited about this. But I think I could just go on. Oh, spoofing. I thought that was interesting. Like I said, these observations could be the result of sensor errors, spoofing, or observer misperception.
what
So
is
I just thought that
spoofing?
was interesting, like spoofing, because that means somebody creating an artificial projection of some sort, or like imitating a radar reading of a craft that's not there. It doesn't necessarily make sense, but I kind of like it. I like that word because it feels nefarious. I mean, in the way that I like a really spooky, like,
Trickster vibes.
yeah, oh yeah. I'm such
trickster
I am such a trickster sometimes. I
It
can't help it,
is.
but I
It's
love it.
trickster god
Like, who's
energy.
out there spoofing vehicles and
People who want.
things on radar?
I have seen this, or I've heard this theory that like people who have one experience that is unprovable to other people will go on to fake other experiences to try and prove the entire thing because they know it's real and they did have one real occurrence, but they have this desire to prove it wrong, and so they fake evidence. Like I think the Delphos ring. Have you heard of that case?
No, I haven't.
This guy saw a UFO in like Kansas, I think, and it was probably real. There's evidence. There was physical evidence
Or
of the
someone else
UFO.
saw it too.
No, just physical evidence. And but then they think that he faked it or changed his story to make it more believable because he was tired of being ridiculed. That sounds like human nature. So
Yeah, it does. That makes sense.
yeah. Do you want to read the next part?
Yeah. So, there are probably multiple types of UAP requiring different explanations based on the range of appearances and behaviors described in the available reporting. Our analysis of the data supports the construct that if and when individual UAP incidents are resolved, they will fall into one of 5 potential explanatory categories. So, this is where we expect to classify the different types of UAPs here. We have airborne clutter, natural atmospheric phenomena, USG or U.S. industry developmental programs.
Bookmark that.
Yep. Foreign adversary systems, and a catch-all other bin.
That other bin
Other.
is a whole pot of tea.
Yeah.
It's its own whole pot of tea. I mean, it's so good. And we're going to come back to that. But we're starting to get to the part I haven't read. So
Okay.
when you said USG and U.S. industry development programs,
Yeah.
the first thing that came to mind was the Jeremy Corbell documentary with, what the crap is his name? I can never remember the guy who worked at a plant in Nevada for the government with UFOs, and he came out.
Yeah, I know
Bill
I can't.
something.
Oh, yeah.
God, I have to hold on.
It's like Lazar.
Bill
right?
Lazar, Bob Lazar.
Bob Lazar.
Bob Lazar. Yeah,
Okay.
he claims to have worked with, like, he thinks they were UFOs we collected from the Roswell crash, and he was a part of trying to reverse engineer their propulsion systems. And I completely believe him. I know that he has some sketch past, but I do think that people in this situation like
You
his.
believe his whole story about like going to an underground base and like nobody warned him about aliens, and then he sees them and he freaks out.
Well, he didn't see aliens. That wasn't him. One time he saw like what he thought was an alien in a chair, and like 2 people were talking to it, but then he took it back because he was like, I only saw the back of its head, like somewhat, and he thought it might have been like a doll that they were like trying to size, because I guess the spaceship, like they could see the inside and it was really small, so they were trying to like size the aliens. So he did see something.
We've had this discussion before where
Yeah.
there's another guy, or you and I have debated back and forth, and I know that it's like probably my mistake in
Oh my
remembering.
gosh, no.
But there's another.
Don't be so mean to my friends, Dana.
Oh no. But I remember that there's a guy who used to work in intelligence, and he had like a really super high clearance. And he ended up going to an underground base, and he describes a story of meeting the Greys for the first time, but nobody told him that aliens were real or existed or anything. So the first time he sees one of the Greys, he pulls out his gun and shoots one.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and it ends up being like a big incident. And like this is in one of
Wow.
those deep underground bases. And
Yeah.
like he's telling this story at the conventions, and I swear it's the same guy, and he ended up committing suicide or dying suspiciously. Like
Yeah.
I think, and he'd even said, if anything happens to me, I would never kill myself.
Well, that's not Bob Lazar because he's alive.
Okay,
So
then
he
that
didn't kill
settles that.
himself.
I didn't realize he was still alive.
Yeah, because Jeremy Corbell's
Which is,
documentary came out just a couple months ago, I think. We should look into that. That one about the guy shooting an alien. Like, there are a ton of biographies I need to read, especially there's the guy who, Jesse Marcel Jr., he's the son of Jesse Marcel, who was one of the first Air Force officers on the scene of the Roswell crash. And he actually brought home wreckage from the crash. And his son, Jr., played with the wreckage as a kid. And now he wrote a book about his dad's experience. Oh, I have to read it.
that's crazy.
So,
The only information I could find on that guy, like the story that I'm talking about, I heard that on like it's a YouTube video, like potato camera footage from like a hotel. What am I, like a conference room?
Yeah.
Yes, it was like a hotel conference room, and somebody's recording on like an old ass camera, and
Gotcha.
it's like bad quality everything, but what he's saying is just, and he really seems to be like somebody who's afraid, but he's like, I'm terrified, but I have to tell as many people as possible. And he was like, doing these actually keeps me safe, because if I like become the more of a public figure I am, the easier it
Safer.
would be to notice. Yeah, if I
Yeah,
went missing.
that's why Bob Lazar came out with his face and name and stuff, because he was like, this is insurance. If I go missing, people will know I'm gone.
Yeah.
Because the first time he came out, it was anonymous. Oh, I really want to know about the Greys, though.
Yeah, that's all I can tell you. The only information I have is that it was a potato quality video on YouTube.
I'm just rambling. All right, can I read the next one?
Yeah, go ahead.
UAP clearly pose a safety of flight issue and may pose a challenge to U.S. national security. Safety concerns primarily center on aviators contending with an increasingly cluttered air domain. UAP would also represent a national security challenge if there are foreign adversary collection platforms or provide evidence a potential adversary has developed either a breakthrough or disruptive technology. So this is where the language of this gets so, it's not user friendly, and they make this for lawmakers, and I think it's kind of a scam that the government makes things hard to read, because we should all be able to understand it, but let's try to sum this up.
Basically, so UAP represents a national security issue if it's a foreign adversary, or if it is a new technology. I love the words breakthrough or disruptive technology.
Yeah,
We're
or
both
provide
struggling.
evidence that a potential adversary. So they're saying, like, if we think anyone else has technology that we can hurt us, then they're a threat.
Yeah, exactly. That's true,
And
though.
this is exactly how I imagine Joe Biden's administration to go. I'm just going to say, I feel like it's going to be a little mini George Bush.
Oh, no.
Who am I to say? Whatever. I had high hopes. I'll just say that.
That you sounded so tired and
I am tired.
and like,
Aren't we all
yeah,
fucking
like,
tired?
yeah, aren't we?
Like, I'm so tired of this government. I don't know. I'll just say it. I volunteered for Bernie Sanders for like 8 years
did
worth of
too.
campaigning and stuff, and I just think we need fundamental change in our government, and that's the bottom line.
Yeah, Bernie was my president.
Yeah, I mean, and I don't agree with every one of his policies, but we do need money out of politics, and we need, like, laymen in office. We need people who actually represent our people in office. We need to get rid of gerrymandering, like all that stuff, that makes it a freer place for us to live. Sorry, pause. So I gotta adjust.
And I vote we finish this page and take a quick break.
Sure, yeah. Sorry, am I doing okay? I'm not
No, you're
bothering
doing
you.
great.
Okay, good. Do you want to read the last paragraph? Mm-hmm. Okay.
Consistent consolidation of reports from across federal government, standardized reporting, increased collection and analysis, and a streamlined process for screening all such reports against a broad range of relevant USG data will allow for a more sophisticated analysis of UAP that is likely to deepen our understanding. Some of these steps are resource intensive and would require additional investment. So basically, it's saying creating a system to categorize, describe, and disseminate information and reports would be beneficial to us in matters of national security, but will cost money, which is what I get from that.
Please invest in us.
But is worthwhile.
Yeah, I think it's important too. You have to understand that this was the Senate called for this, right? Mm-hmm. The Senate called for this investigation, and that's who it's being presented to. So when they say it requires additional investment, I immediately took it as like invest now, but that's not what they're saying because that's not the point. They're basically just saying you're going to have to allot funds to this
You have
in
to
the
create
budget.
it, to create the infrastructure.
Yeah, and yeah, so that was just my own little misunderstanding real quick. I was like, I'm not sending you my money. Like,
invest now. The apocalypse is coming.
Oh, we should end on that.
And I love it. The government.
No, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was going to say, I just think it's so funny. Like, now thinking the government releases these reports and they're like, we don't know when. We don't know where. We don't know how. But aliens are fucking coming, y'all. And if you don't pay up, they're gonna probe us in the ass. So you better give us money today.
They're like, Space Force failed, bitch.
We need a task force and a budget.
Get Leslie Knope for your task force. That'll fix it.
And we're back. And it looks like in this, we have now started the page 4. And the heading says, available reporting largely inconclusive. So I think that we can all like fairly state that that's going to be the end result. It's basically spoilers. They put spoilers in here right in the front.
Spoilers.
Yeah, government spoilers. So at least got to be fair about that. They didn't try to hide it.
Yeah, I just wish... My hopes were high, but they were unfounded hopes,
So limited data leaves most UAP unexplained. Limited data and inconsistency in reporting are key challenges to evaluating UAP. No standardized reporting mechanism existed until the Navy established one in March 2019. Interesting. The Air Force subsequently adopted that mechanism in November 2020, but it remains limited to USG reporting. The UAPTF regularly heard anecdotally during its research about other observations that occurred which were never captured in formal or informal reporting by those observers. So it happens. It sounds like around November 2020 when the Air Force adopted those mechanisms of reporting and everything that have been laid out. I mean, I wonder if it was because COVID and lockdown meant that they just didn't have that much else to do. So maybe they finally had time to like get around to that.
Yeah, I wonder what the catalyst was for that.
Yeah, boredom maybe at this point.
I mean, it's interesting too that they're using reports from 2004 on, but there wasn't a standardized. They said there was a standardized way to do it in 2004, but now they're saying there's only one in 2019 and only for the Air Force and USG reporting. So what is it? Or is it both? And I'm being naive.
I mean, I don't know. I think the point is maybe not. I think the point is that they need to make it more and better, like their methods of.
They're just laying
reporting.
Out the past, basically. All right, can I read the next one?
Yeah, go for it.
After carefully considering this information, the UAPTF focused on reports that involved UAP largely witnessed firsthand by military aviators and that were collected from systems we consider to be reliable. I wonder if they'll tell us what that meter of reliability is. These reports describe incidents that occurred between 2004 and 2021, with the majority coming in the last 2 years as the new reporting mechanism became better known to the military aviation community. We were able to identify one reported UAP with high confidence. In that case, we identified the object as a large deflating balloon. The others remain unexplained. So 1 out of 144 reports
Wow.
was explained. So that's
So,
what they.
and it sounds to me like what is being said indirectly also is that these reports are becoming so many and so frequent that a system is actually needed to address it now.
Yeah,
That
it
it's just
seems like
happening
it.
so overwhelmingly often that they're like, yeah, we need to consider this as a part of our like daily checklist or something.
And recently, because they say most of the sightings come from the last 2 years, so it's ramping up. Something's ramping up.
So maybe this year or last year is when the technology for the real time machines, or probably time dilation or distortion machines, maybe that's when they start to get developed. But you can only go back in the past like so far, like to the point at which the machine was created.
Yeah.
So like maybe we're starting to see the effects of people mucking about with time
I love
and
that.
dimension.
That would be awesome. Because we never know either.
I have
We just
no
live and
proof
die
whatsoever.
in this world. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, okay. So they go on to say 144 reports originated from USG sources. And what is that? Is that United States
Government sources.
Okay.
Yeah.
Of these, 80 reports involved observation with multiple sensors. Most reports described UAP as objects that interrupted pre-planned training or other military activity. So there seems to be an intelligence about the environment of the UAP because it seems to imply that they are showing up where we already have planned activity. And that lends to the story of the Tic Tac, where it seemed to know where they were going.
That's so wild that it happens. It happens often enough that it actually interrupts military exercises.
Yeah.
Like that it actually messes with their plans.
Yeah, it's so cool. Kind of reminds me of at the International Museum of Aliens in Roswell. They have a video you can watch. It's really long and kind of monotone. So I only watched the first 15 minutes. But they basically start out by saying that the alien beings were alerted to our presence as a planet when we dropped the bombs during World War II, because that would created, a sound boom or whatever that they could detect us, and that was the beginning of them coming here, and it's just increasing and increasing with our development of military technology.
And you know what is so interesting too is just that there is this whole division within mankind of like pre-atomic and atomic age.
Yeah.
Like at some sense there's almost this global idea that we actually changed in the essence, like in our essence we changed as human beings once atomic technology was developed. And I wonder why people feel that way with all of the inventions that are out there. Like, why is it the atom, the splitting of the atom?
Well, I don't know if it's necessarily the creation of the atom bomb or the dropping of it, because that leads me to think that it's this cognitive, this thing that we know as a society now, where we have the ability to completely annihilate other people, other human beings, and we will use it. I think that was huge in terms of human progression. God, I'm losing the tenses. In human progression, that's huge. We've always killed each other, but this is horribly violent and horrific.
Vaporizing people, I guess.
Yeah, and destroying the earth also. I mean, it's hurting yourself too, because we're all hurting the earth, and it's just the knowing that we've gone to that limit just out of our own.
And you know what, too? I think, developing those weapons and technologies, like it also represents a point where we can actually create something that we know without a fact will last way beyond our own existence as a species.
Yeah.
And that is nuclear waste. Isn't that a shame?
That's kind of crazy.
Well, when we think about it, the half-life of some of these things is like hundreds of thousands of years.
Yeah.
And I think that at this point right now, I feel like I read somewhere that, it's going to be like 430,000 years before some places are going to be habitable again.
Yeah. Oh, man, we could actually destroy the Earth. I mean, if
There's
someone
already-
dropped a nuke on any part of the world, it would drastically affect the rest of us in deathly ways. And what's that movie on Netflix with George Clooney that I kept telling you? I mean, did you watch half of it and you got really bored because it's kind of slow?
Oh, yeah.
But basically, the premise is that they find a moon of Jupiter to colonize, and in the process of coming back from
like
the first
Spaceman or
exploratory,
something?
yeah, it's like across the galaxy or something. They basically, like, humans nuke the Earth before the spaceship gets there, and so the spaceship is all that's left essentially of humanity, and that's just the beginning. Like, I'm not spoiling anything, that's just the beginning. So
The next part talks about the challenges of collecting UAP information, I assume. Sociocultural stigmas and censor limitations remain obstacles to collecting data on UAP. Although some technical challenges, such as how to appropriately filter out radar clutter to ensure safety of flight for military and civilian aircraft. What?
I know it's so hard.
Although some technical challenges, such as how to appropriately filter out radar clutter to ensure safety of flight for military and civilian aircraft, are long-standing in the aviation community, while others unique to the UAP problem set. So this is like so many words to say actually very little. I guess that's the whole government for you.
Is that not lawyer speak? I mean,
Yeah, it's legalese out the wazoo.
yeah, so they're basically saying this is hard to document them, and it's been an issue for a long time of safety.
Paragraph saved, right?
Yeah.
Come on.
God, I should be a senator.
There you go.
Mel and Stell for office.
Love it.
All right, do you want to keep going?
Yeah. So narratives from aviators in the operational community and analysts from the military and IC describe disparagement associated with observing UAP. So basically reporting it, like people don't report it because they're embarrassed. Or attempting to discuss it with colleagues. Although the effects of these stigmas have lessened as senior members of the scientific policy, military, and intelligence communities engage on the topic seriously in public, reputational risk may keep many observers silent, complicating scientific pursuit of the topic.
I love that. They kind of say there that the purpose of this, I get that the purpose of this might be to assuage people to come forward with their stories because they're taking it seriously now.
Yeah, that's great. And they're like, it happens so much now. And yeah, and the more people that come forward, the more that will come forward too.
Yeah, and
like,
they want to hear it.
think of how many people are keeping a lid on something that they may have seen or experienced just because they're embarrassed, right?
Oh, I think there are a ton of people who keep things to themselves because they don't even want to believe it either.
Yeah, that makes sense. And then it goes on to say the sensors mounted on U.S. military platforms are typically designed to fulfill specific missions. As a result, these sensors are not generally suited for identifying UAP. So just giving us like a little bit of a summary so far, the problem is that people are embarrassed to report it. The radar that's picking it up isn't actually designed to pick it up. So then I think what's going to come next is like we also need to develop that technology. Like we need to develop radar that is designed to detect that and not other things. And And then the other challenge is sensor vantage points, and the numbers of sensors currently observing an object play substantial roles in distinguishing UAP from known objects and determining whether a UAP demonstrates breakthrough aerospace capabilities. Optical sensors have the benefit of providing some insight into relative size, shape, and structure. Radio frequency sensors provide more accurate velocity and range information. So we need actually like a whole suite of tools to be added to the arsenal.
Yeah, and we need to add them, it seems, specifically to collect this information. So they need a bunch of different sensor abilities working concurrently. It's a lot more detailed than I thought it would be.
Yeah, it's
I
like
the
so
plan
we
they're
need
laying out.
money. Boom, we need money, and we need nuclear AK-47s.
Here's our challenges. Yeah. So can I go on?
Yeah, go for it.
The next little header, but some potential patterns do emerge.
Oh, I love that. Can we just say that? I just love that. If that were like a title, a poem title or something, I really like it. But some potential patterns do emerge.
The structure of this paper really weirds me out. It doesn't seem to have like a structure I'm familiar with.
It's super professional and somewhat strange at the same time.
It's almost like a mix of a professional paper and like a journalism gotcha. Like, like that very much seems like a BuzzFeed thing. But some potential patterns do emerge. ... And she was found dead the next day. Like some true crime thing. Anyway, it goes on to say, although there was a wide variability in the reports, and the dataset is currently too limited to allow for detailed trend or pattern analysis, there was some clustering of UAP observations regarding shape, size, and particularly propulsion. UAP sightings also tended to cluster around U.S. training and testing grounds, but we assess that this may result from a collection bias as a result of the focused attention, greater numbers of latest generation sensors operating in those areas, unit expectations, and guidance to report anomalies. So the most common pattern they're seeing is sightings around U.S. bases, essentially, because they're taking reports from U.S. Armed Forces men and women.
Why am I more and more getting a feeling like this is coming around to say, like, we need a branch of the military and we need to fund the shit out of it because these things are happening around our bases and are therefore a problem?
Maybe this is Space Force coming back for round 2.
Space Force.
Space Force. God, that show was good on Netflix. See it?
No.
Steve Carell is amazing.
Well, yes, he is.
All right, next heading. And a handful of UAP appear to demonstrate advanced technology. It's like journalism, right?
Yeah, that it's so weird that it's starting the beginning of the sentence like that with an and. That's so weird.
It is. Maybe that's
their
law
English
speak.
teacher is probably turning over in their grave right now.
You think their English teacher's dead?
I'm assuming so because I'm saying like middle school English teacher of whoever wrote this report. And I'm assuming this is probably, I'm assuming it's an older person.
I don't know. All right. In 18 incidents described in 21 reports, observers reported unusual UAP movement patterns or flight characteristics. So, yeah, in the majority of reports, it's not flying as we know it to fly. Some UAP appeared to remain stationary in winds aloft, move against the wind, maneuver abruptly, or move at considerable speed, without discernible means of propulsion.
What the fuck?
In a small number of cases, military aircraft systems processed radio frequency energy associated with UAP sightings. So that's interesting. They're also giving off a radio frequency.
That makes me feel tingly. That whole paragraph makes me feel tingly. Like, it's so menacing.
Mm-hmm. And they're probably trying to make it sound like that because they want us to think this is a threat. That's, I think, what the American government's angle or whoever's doing this.
So they can get money?
Yeah. So that we can have another overbloated branch of government to research it. I mean, is that not how the world works?
I'm just saying that task force better have no more than 20 people, and it better all be like the greatest. It better be the 20 best and brightest. Then I would say that that's not overfunded.
Are they going to hire, respected professionals in the UFO field who've been doing this for years? Or are they going to hire
recruit, like Project Paperclip?
Yeah, like, are they going to hire a bunch of pencil pushers who are going to tell them what they want to hear?
I'm hoping they'll hire some Einsteins. That would be nice.
I don't know. Don't have that much faith in the government. Sorry. And as I continue reading the government document, the UAPTF holds a small amount of data that appear to show UAP demonstrating acceleration or a degree of signature management. Additional rigorous analysis are necessary by multiple teams or groups of technical experts to determine the nature and validity of these data. We are conducting further analysis to determine if breakthrough technologies were demonstrated. Yeah, I should just read the whole thing because I keep talking about and then they answer my questions. So yeah, they're going to try and find experts, it sounds like.
Yeah. And going on, it says UAP probably lack a single explanation. The UAP documented in this limited data set demonstrate an array of aerial behaviors, reinforcing the possibility there are multiple types of UAP requiring different explanations. Our analysis of this data supports this construct that if and when individual UAP incidents are resolved, they will fall into one of 5 potential explanatory categories. We have airborne clutter, we have natural atmospheric phenomena, U.S. government or industry developmental programs, foreign adversary systems, and a catch-all other bin. With the exception of the one instance where we determined with high confidence that the reported UAP was airborne clutter, specifically a deflating balloon. Oh, shout out to the deflated balloon. We currently lack sufficient information in our data set to attribute incidents to a specific explanation. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but this sounds so repetitive that I'm having deja vu.
Yeah, it really is super specific, and it makes me question why they're dumbing it down so much. Like, are the lawmakers, do they need it that simplified? And that, like, maybe this is a tactic to just drill it home? Excuse me.
Well, why don't you, the next part breaks down, like, those different categories that I talked about, and they're going to, like, go into it in depth. Like, will you take us through it?
The first category is airborne clutter. These objects include birds, balloons, recreational unmanned aerial vehicles, drones, or airborne debris like plastic bags that muddle a scene and affect an operator's ability to identify true targets, such as enemy aircraft. So stuff that gets in the way.
It makes me really sad that, like,
Litter is
Walmart
on
bags
here.
and litter could be, No, I mean, not just Walmart, everybody else too.
Poor Mother Earth.
Yeah.
The next category, natural atmospheric phenomena. This includes ice crystals, moisture, and thermal fluctuations that may register on some infrared and radar systems. I think this is why they point out they need more than one system because, they each have their individual purpose for this.
That makes sense.
Yeah. The next one is USG or industry development programs. Some UAP observations could be attributable to developments and classified programs by U.S. entities. We are unable to confirm, however, that these systems accounted for any of the UAP reports we collected. That's kind of a big deal. They're basically saying, yeah, it might be the U.S. government, but we ain't telling. And like that might actually.
It could be that it could be a government program that only less than 50 people are authorized to know about.
Yeah, but that's just the thing. Even if that is true, that might negate like half of these sightings. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah,
I don't know.
It's still a mystery, though. At the end of the day, it's still like we still don't know what's going on.
Well, I don't believe they're all U.S. government vehicles, but still. And the last one is two more. Foreign adversary systems. Some UAP may be technologies deployed by China, Russia, another nation, or a non-governmental entity. Man, calling out China and Russia there. And then other, which is huge.
Wait, before we read other, what do you think is going to be an other? One of those
I
things?
did skim this earlier.
Oh, okay.
But my general first impression was like anything they don't care to explain. Which seems maybe right, but we'll see. What do you think?
I would love to see them just say something not of this world. Like, any kind of mention of like something from outer space.
High hopes, baby. High hopes.
Okay, let's
do it.
Intergalactic. I'd like to see that word in other.
How cool would it be
Intergalactic
to see
origin.
intergalactic with the White House heading at the top?
Yeah.
Hell yeah. I should just write a letter to Joe Biden and ask him to sign it for me
Perfect.
with intergalactic.
Ooh, yeah.
All right. Other. Although most of the UAP described in our dataset probably remain unidentified due to limited data or challenges to collection, processing, or analysis, we may require additional scientific knowledge to successfully collect on, analyze, and characterize some of them. So some of them are identified because we don't know what we're looking at, and we don't know because we don't know, essentially. Goes on to say, we would group such objects in this category pending scientific advances that allowed us to better understand them. The UAPTF intends to focus additional analysis on the small number of cases where a UAP appeared to display unusual flight characteristics or signature management. Does signature management mean they think someone's manning the craft?
That would be my guess that that's what they're talking about.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure about that.
I'm gonna do like a super quick Google.
Yeah,
like
do
if
it,
you don't
please.
mind, like
Of course.
go ahead and if you want, go ahead and keep going, and I
Okay.
will check on what signature management is referring to.
Yeah, so I'm just going to talk a little bit about this because other is huge. And this is, I think, what all of us enthusiasts are looking for. It's in the other bin because they're essentially saying anything that we can't pin down because we can't say that it's technology that China or Russia have. We can't say it's trash in the air. We can't say it's natural. So this is what we're going to say. We can't say it was it might be the USA. I feel like that might be a cop out now that I think about it. Like they can always be like, "Oh, it might be our own stuff." But this is huge. I mean, they're basically saying that a lot of them we can't figure out.
Yeah.
We don't have the technology to figure out, and that's what scares people, I think.
And to get back with you about signature management, you were pretty much right. Like it
Okay.
is, it's basically talking about pattern of life or activity-based intelligence. So you could be the most well camouflaged thing in the world, but if you move around like in a pattern, a recognizable pattern, like you're still gonna stick out.
Yeah, exactly.
So you were right.
Perfect. Oh, I love being right. Do you want to read the next section? That's the
Yeah.
end of that.
And we've got another big all caps heading that says UAP threaten flight safety and possibly national security.
Bum, bum, bum.
UAP pose a hazard to safety of flight and could pose a broader danger if some instances represent sophisticated collection against U.S. military activities by a foreign government or demonstrate a breakthrough aerospace technology by a potential adversary. Aliens!
That's like the whole vibe of this.
And then
paper.
literally it says
Cough,
it
aliens.
says asterisk cough aliens
Literally.
cough asterisk.
So basically, we're afraid of these bitches because we ain't know what they got.
Right? We don't know them and we don't like them.
You ain't from around these parts, are ya?
Nope.
That's me to the aliens,
And
for the record.
so there's on the next part, ongoing airspace concerns. When aviators encounter safety hazards, they are required to report these concerns. Depending on the location, volume, and behavior of hazards during incursions on ranges, pilots may cease their test and or training and land their aircraft, which has a deterrent effect on reporting. So basically, like if they might have this big thing going on out there and they got up early and gassed up the planes and got everything ready to go, and they're on this whole mission, and if somebody reports something, then everyone's got to touch down, and then if you have no evidence, you'll be the one that brought down all the planes. Would you want to be that guy?
And you have to be the one who goes up to your commanding officer and who's like, "Oh, I think I saw something.
I saw an alien, sir."
Yeah, and all the, if you don't know how it works in the armed forces, like if one person messes up, everyone gets punished. It's a group effort. So you don't want to be the one who makes your, squad do a bunch of burpees. Like you just don't want to do it. And then they say, I like this. They say they have 11 reports of documented instances in which pilots reported near misses with a UAP.
That's
So
amazing.
either these things are coming after us or we're just accidentally like, fender bendering with UFOs.
Yep. Let's see. Then where are we at? Okay, so
we only have we're about almost done. Just wanted to throw
excellent. And we're still continuing talking about threats and against national security. The next part is potential national security challenges. We currently lack data to indicate any UAP are part of a foreign collection program or indicative of a major technological advancement by a potential adversary. Okay, all right. Well, I guess they're just saying we can't prove it.
Yeah.
We continue to monitor for evidence of such programs given the counterintelligence challenge they would pose, particularly as some UAP have been detected near military facilities or by aircraft carrying the United States government's most advanced sensor systems. So, what do you think that means?
Sounds like to me that they think these craft are coming close to our highest advanced technology to get a good look at it.
It's interesting.
Right?
Yeah, like that, or I wonder too, if we had that technology more widely available, then would there just be that many more?
Yeah, or are they trying to communicate? Like, can they tell where our most advanced technology is, and maybe they're assuming that that's their best chance at communicating with us. It's like picking up a cell phone versus tuning in on the radio. Mm-hmm. We are going to take a little break, and we'll be right back.
And we're back.
All right, we are on the last section of this preliminary assessment.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for sticking with us thus far. This has been very heavy, but very cool at the same time. Oh, and I also wanted to say, even though we're not done yet, but thanks for sitting and doing this with me, Mel. This is really cool. Like, it's so much fun to sit here and read this report.
Thank me. This is amazing.
Well, I have to because it's such a pleasure. So thank you so much. I love you too.
It's cool because it's happening right now.
Yep.
And there's not a lot of topics we like that are current. So
absolutely.
This last section is called Explaining UAP Will Require Analytic Collection and Resource Investment.
Why do I get the sense that they could just stop right there? And they're just going to keep saying that over and over again.
Yeah, they're mostly just going to get a tiny more detailed.
It's like a prediction.
It's like a very wordy outline. Mm-hmm. It's like a very fleshed out outline is what I would call this. That makes more sense now when I look at the structure. Standardize the reporting, consolidate the data, and deepen the analysis. That's their little blue. All of the blue headlines are kind of journaly.
We are going to build amazing lasers that can give us information and readouts on shit out there that we don't know what it is. And we're just going to science the fuck out of it. And we're going to get so much information. And we're going to have, we're going to be able to point things. And, we're going to have, a tricorder soon.
Oh, soon. I don't know what that is.
Star Trek thing.
Okay,
cool. The tricorder is the, if you know, you know. If you don't know, you don't care.
All right. Well, I'm going to read this paragraph and we'll see how bad it is. Ready?
Let's go.
In line with the provisions of Senate Report 116-233, accompanying the IAA for FY 2021, the UAPTF's long-term goal is to widen the scope of its work to include additional UAP events documented by the broader swath of USG personnel and technical systems in its analysis.
So we're going to throw people at the problem.
Mm-hmm. We're going to make the scope bigger. As the data set increases, the UAPTF's ability to employ data analytics to detect trends will also improve. Makes sense?
Naturally.
The initial focus will be to employ artificial intelligence machine learning algorithms to cluster and recognize similarities and patterns in features of the data points.
That's so awesome. We're going to send our remote science robots to go do science for us. I love it. I love everything about it. It scares the shit out of me. I love it. Let's go.
As the database accumulates information from known aerial objects such as weather balloons, classic, high altitude or superpressure balloons, and wildlife, machine learning can add efficiency by pre-assessing UAP reports to see if those reports match similar events already in the database. So they're kind of taking a lot of the the grunt work out of reporting and analyzing, which is
Yeah.
awesome.
Another shout out to my homies, the weather balloons. The partially deflated weather balloons, like, me too, weather balloon. Me too.
Oh, there's a little bullet point here that says the UAPTF has begun to develop interagency analytical and processing workflows. That's a lot of buzzwords. To ensure both
Synergy.
collection and analysis will be well informed and coordinated. Yeah, so they're communicating. The majority of UAP data is from U.S. Navy reporting, but efforts are underway to standardize incident reporting across U.S. military services and other government agencies to ensure all relevant data is captured with respect to particular incidents and any U.S. activities that might be relevant. That's kind of vague, but it seems like they're implying something that I'm not privy to, right?
Are they going to use looking for UFOs as a cover to broaden their spy network?
Yeah, or like start another Cold War
Like,
type
how
thing.
closely do we want them to, like, look at this and analyze? When I think about it that way, like, what kind of technology are we really calling to be summoned from the portals of hell? And what is the consequence of doing so? And what choices are we really
So
making?
you think we're gonna create some kind of super doom technology?
I'm saying
and
don't
use it?
think we won't, and we already have. So it's happened before.
It's just that's scary.
I'm getting so hyped up at the end of this because I feel like I'm getting more and more excited the more that I think that they're actually going to really start looking into this. And everywhere they're going to have like a form now. They're going to be like, get on the app or log into your secure email and fill out form 6-87 alpha UAP sighting report document.
Are you talking like they wrote this article?
It's starting to rub off on me.
Sorry, that's not me. Okay, so all right, they're going on to say that they're collaborating with the U.S. Air Force and the Federal Aviation Administration, which is huge. That means commercial pilots will be able to report.
Fuck
And there
yes.
are a
And
couple
why
little
wouldn't
bullet
they?
points.
Right.
Sorry, what'd you say?
Why wouldn't they?
Yeah, exactly.
Makes sense.
Excuse me. There are 3 little bullet points. Although USAF data collection has been limited historically to the Air Force, sorry, this is just so weird to
It's
read.
so heavy.
They basically started a 6-month pilot program in November 2020 to collect data in the most likely areas that they encounter UAP. And they're trying to evaluate how to go forward collecting information with the Air Force in the future. So they're going to start using the Air Force to investigate
And they're going to have a
UFOs
task force
proactively.
developing special lasers, like to see things better.
But they're actually going to proactively go out and seek out UFO technology. That's pretty big, I think.
Yeah.
They might have been doing that before, but they're telling us they're doing it now. It almost feels like a declaration of war. That's a little dramatic, but
I'm going to call it a scientific expedition because I'm an optimist.
love it.
And for no other reason, because I have no proof that I should feel this way.
All right, the second bullet point. The Federal Aviation Administration captures data related to UAP during the normal course of managing air traffic operations. The FAA generally ingests this data when pilots and other airspace users report unusual or unexpected events to the FAA's Air Traffic Organization.
So they're saying they already do this.
Yeah, they already take it in, so it should be pretty easy, I guess, to hook them up with the info. Last point, in addition, the FAA continuously monitors its system for anomalies, generating additional information that may be of use to the UAPTF.
The task force, yeah.
Mm-hmm. They are able to isolate data of interest and make it available. They have a robust and effective outreach program that helps the UAPTF reach members of the aviation community to highlight the importance of reporting UAP. So it sounds like the FAA has a good
I love it. It's a mandate. It's a mandate to collect this stuff. I love it.
All right, we're almost done.
I got
Do you want to
you.
read our last two paragraphs?
Yeah. So, expand collection is the next heading. And the task force, and also I'm mixing in my own words at this point as well. So I'm not literally reading this verbatim, but the task force is looking for novel ways to increase collection of UAP cluster areas. Shout out to Politis.
Clusters.
Cluster areas when U.S. forces are not present as a way to baseline standard, quote unquote, UAP activity and mitigate the collection bias in the data set. One proposal is to use advanced algorithms to search historical data captured and stored by radars. The task force also plans to update its current interagency UAP collection strategy in order to bear relevant collection platforms and methods from the Department of Defense and the IC. So basically, it's just what I was talking about earlier. They're going to just set like computers and robots, science robots to go out and science for them.
Yeah,
And that's going to be awesome.
I guess what's good about this, because it doesn't mean a ton to me, I guess the benefit of this is that it's in writing that they have to do it, right?
Or that, like, it's, it's like, I mean, they're just making this unclassified too. Like,
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
like, this is like what their priorities are at the moment. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then finally, is this the end?
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Basically, after this is the
yeah, and then it's
appendix.
just an appendix. Okay, so increase investment in research and development. I so called it. Okay, make them scared, give us money.
You were on it.
Yes.
You did call it. Good one.
Okay. The task force has indicated that additional funding for research and development could further the future study of the topics laid out in this report. Such investments should be guided by a UAP collection strategy, UAP and research and development technical roadmap, and a UAP program plan.
Well,
That's that.
that's that. So, can I sum out loud for my own cognitive processing?
Absolutely.
So, these things are real. Most of them act in a way that we don't understand, and we can't understand where they're coming from.
It happens more and more often all the time, and with the advancement of technology, that's almost directly from the report.
Yeah. And most of them, some of them are intentionally trying, maybe some of them are endangering our aircraft. So they might be a threat. And we're just going to make it real easy for everyone to report and try to take away the stigma of UFOs. Is that what they're trying to say, I think? Also, and please invest, Congress dollars in this.
I haven't been this happy and since I found out that the CDC has a protocol for a zombie apocalypse.
They really do?
Yeah, they have an actual protocol.
That's
and it's
awesome.
a little bit of a joke, but it's also like, no, really, this is
what
this
you
is
do.
what we do.
I love that. In
Yeah.
case of an I Am Legend.
And then like that's
scenario.
this is how I feel right now, is like the same way I feel when I found that out. So if you're just
love
finding
it.
that out, I'm really happy for you. I hope it's a good moment.
Well, and I remember as a kid, I mean, I could never imagine that this type of stuff would be being talked about like publicly. Like I can talk about this with my coworkers, not weird them out, and the government's acknowledging it, of course. And I remember as a kid, didn't they just finally acknowledge Area 51 was like a thing in like 2001? Like until for a long time, Area 51 was still a conspiracy, and people were thought to be crazy for thinking that we had like.
But also it was the perfect cover for them to develop, aerial technology during the Cold War that's now declassified too.
See, I think they were developing technology because they had alien technology to reverse engineer.
Hey,
That's
both
my
of those
theory.
things can exist at the same time. Like
Of course.
Yeah,
I'm not trying
we're
to negate your theory at all. My
No,
bad.
yeah, no, you good. No, I feel it. I want you to know that
Yeah.
I agree with you. Like these things could go together potentially.
For sure.
I just had such a moment of empathy for Carol Rainey.
Really?
And
right
I
now?
have to talk about it. Yeah,
Sure,
just
go
now
ahead.
it hit me while we were talking.
Go for it.
One of the authors of the UFO book that we covered in the second show, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And anyway, one of the authors about the UFO book, Carol Rainey, my homegirl, I was roasting her so bad about how she didn't have to talk for like over half a page that she found that she herself was believable and that Bud Hopkins was believable.
Yeah, so
And now I think about it because we officially live in a world where these things are now acknowledged openly in a way, you know,
true.
to a point. But the world was so much different then.
True.
And, you know, maybe
Yeah,
they would
that's
have
our
been
young
called
people
crazy.
perspective.
You know, maybe it was a really radical thing at that time, like, and certainly more radical than it is now. So
Yeah.
I feel like I can understand how that might affect her writing style
Yeah,
and her
apologies.
insecurities.
Apologies to Carol Rainey for being a little too harsh. I respect you so much
I
as a woman journalist and author.
I do kind of apologize for what I've said,
Kind
but
Classic. Here we go.
but she's so much above me. Like she's such a hero to me, and I look up to her. I feel like nothing that I say matters anyway because I'm nobody compared to what she's accomplished. So
I think this means a lot to the UFO community. Finally, the government's acknowledging what people have been calling each other crazy about for decades now, almost a century maybe, because sightings have been around since the dawn of time. Yeah, they acknowledge that the research that these people have done needs to be less stigmatized. So I
yeah,
agree.
it makes sense.
Oh God, sorry, I keep
That's
hitting
all
my
right.
mic. You know, and I think I'm really happy this news came out. I'm also really excited to see what they come up with because this is just the beginning and we have no idea what's coming.
It sounds to me like potentially it may be the beginning of like our future space industry.
Oh,
You
how
know,
cool
like
is that?
it starts with a task force, a UAP task force. But you know, maybe that starts like a whole new sector in the economy and
That's
things that
amazing.
we are like globally focused on maybe. And like maybe
Also,
we'll end up using those crazy lasers and stuff that I keep talking about that haven't been mentioned by anybody but me tonight. But the lasers may end up helping us solve really big problems in mankind. And you never
see,
know. And the willingness to be open and be willing to study these things, like there's no limit to what it could do.
yeah,
And that's exciting.
I see how this could go horribly wrong for mankind. Like those space lasers, I'll talk about them and make them
Space
legit.
lasers.
They like could be used for bad, you know? It's like the dark side.
Like it's secret.
All this technology that we're developing because we're like, oh, we just want to catch up to the aliens. We could also use it to crush our enemies. Like they call out China and Russia in the foreign category of objects and say these might be their military objects. Like that's a little suspicious. I'm gonna say
It
that
could
in
be.
every episode.
It could be.
It's a little suspicious.
It sure is.
Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No.
Oh, it's 10:45. Look at us
No,
old
it's-
women.
I'm
Do
about
we
to
have
turn
any
into
more?
a pumpkin.
Do I have any
Um,
more?
It's exciting. It's exciting for so many things. It deserves it's a topic that deserves many, many hours to really like sift through all of these things, talk about it, put it together. And I think that that would be a worthwhile conversation to have if I were a superhuman. I would talk about this like for a long time.
I think we should definitely do running updates on everything that the committee does and keep everyone updated.
Oh, yeah, we're going to find all about the task force and the space elevator.
And we will submit our
lasers.
resumes to join the task force. We'll keep you updated on that too.
Absolutely.
Well, thanks for listening, everyone. Check out our Patreon at Everything Under the Moon. And don't forget to rate and review us on Apple Podcasts. And tell all your family and friends about us.
Oh, and if you want to send us an email about anything that you would like us to talk about, maybe you have a story or an experience that you would like to share with us, you can send us an email at tellmelandstel@gmail.com. That's 2 L's in Stel, 1 L in Mel, tellmelandstel@gmail.com. We hope to hear from you soon. And come back and see us next week when we are going to be finishing up our whichever episode we feel like
Raymar's
finishing.
Hollow.
Oh, Raymar's Hollow Part 2.
I should explain a little bit. My dad, who is featured in our part 2 of Raymar's Hollow, he has some great second person stories to tell. He is hosting my sister, who just got out of the army and came back to, or, is in the army and just came back to the U.S. So he's doing some family stuff right now and couldn't come in for an interview. So we are going to get him in. We're going to interview him hopefully tomorrow and have that
Congrats on getting
episode
your
out.
sister back. That's exciting too.
She is in the same time zone as me, and I am, or not really. She's only 1 hour away from me, and that is amazing.
That is amazing.
So very proud of her. So I think that's it for updates. Check out our Instagram too, and we also have all of our episodes on YouTube if you prefer to listen that way.
Just give us a Google.
Incoming, maybe something to look forward to. Stell is going to start creating a vlog of all of our legend tripping adventures. So
And misadventures.
Yeah, stay tuned. Some urban exploration, maybe.
Oh, there's lots of stuff coming, guys. You don't even know.
All right, we'll come back next week on Everything Under the Moon.
With Mel and Stell.